transition team is working tirelessly to get ready. I think, in lieu of doing our regular, you know, construction reporting, perhaps we can go through, I don't know, Steve, if it's worth on your end going through any updates you want to go through. And ultimately, I think we just want to go over um, where we're at in the schedule in terms of getting inmates moved in. Does that make sense for you?
Yeah, this is Steve just stepping up here. So any updates
Okay.
you want to give Steve on the time frame and whatnot?
Well, probably Tyler could even answer something a little bit more specific, but we've been trying to figure out a more substantial end date. So as everybody knows, we were looking at October 2nd or just prior to it, moving in with the inmates. So we had a couple of delays. One delay was generator, and then another delay, which has been ongoing, is with Stanley Security Systems. Getting the system to substantial completion where it's operating as should. And they are getting there, but they're not done yet. But right now it almost appears that they might be at a point where we can probably get back into training. So then I'd sit down with Kelsey and then figure out actually the transitional time that we had already spent and the transitional time that we're going to need to be able to get in for health, safety, welfare, and work with the Minnesota Department of Corrections and figure out a new, I guess, really start date with the inmates. Just as a guess right now, my best guess would be at the quickest, it would be, if we could start into it right now today, it would be at least four to 6 weeks. So if it was to be an October 2nd start date, I would say that my soonest would be a November 2nd start date. Any questions on that?
Steve, Marcia Ward here. So is that determined by the Department of Corrections, the start date?
No, I mean, it's a combination of both, Commissioner. So it'd be making sure that they're comfortable that the transition that we have done, that we understand the facility, that the facility operations works as it should, meaning you hit a button, the doors operate like they're supposed to, cameras should operate like they're supposed to, not only just for inside of the jail, but also inside of the dispatch center. And then on top of that, we'd also have to make sure that we've gotten all of the trainings from all of the vendors. So whether it be Stanley Security System, Otis for the elevators, HVAC systems for the air conditioners and the air handling units, and anything to do with plumbing, all of that needs to have owner-operator training that we're comfortable with as well.
How about you talk about training that how doing on staff, the actual jail hires?
Try one more time there. You were choppy for cutting in and out.
How we do it, for training, how are we doing on staffing hires?
It's been a long process, but right now, if everybody, the best way to answer that is if everybody continues through on the process of the hiring that we have picked for hiring, and the backgrounds are completed and the county chooses to go forward with that qualified employee, then they meet the training requirements. We would be fully staffed.
Okay, thank
you.
So
we don't have to be fully staffed to open it.
That's correct. So we could start with a lower number, continue the staff, continue the training, and then keep bringing in the inmates.
As I understand it, right now, the staffing isn't one of the impediments for opening.
Well, opening with effective use of dollars invested. Yeah, you can open with, two inmates with a certain amount of staffing, but that's not the goal. Okay, thank you.
We can open it with the anticipated amount of inmates that we planned on taking and have always planned on taking with that number of staff. right now. That's not the impediment for the jail opening. It's these other issues that Steve had mentioned.
Yeah, so this is Tyler at Market. I can kind of just walk through with kind of what Steve's talked about with some items and dates and kind of just give an overall update on where everything's at with the project. So right now, punch list, there's probably about I would say maybe 20 items on there. They're minor, there's some caulk, some intercoms and a few things like that, and some plumbing, items that a valve might not be working or something they change out. So there's about a handful of things we basically requested to try to have the punch list complete by this Friday. That punch list, nothing on there is holding up the turnover or handover to the county or would defer from them being in there. So like I said, there's pretty minor items. Elevator inspection is occurring on Thursday. That's a state inspection. Actually, Otis is there today doing some stuff. We'll have to do the overall final occupancy inspection, but that will occur with the state inspector after the new generator is on site and fully in function. Stanley, like Steve talked about, they still owe the 40. Yesterday we sent out a request they owe the 40 hours of on-site training with the county per plans and specs and contract. So we've requested that. And like Steve said, there has been some delays with Stanley. I don't know if it's programming issuing. It seemed like every time we were going to try to set up the training, county staff would get on site and some of the programming and stuff would fail or crash. So it was kind of like Steve said, Stanley would need to be working on the system. It was just inefficient to have the training staff on site at the same time. So we have requested and do feel that Stanley is to the point where now we can set up with the county on the actual owner training side with Stanley on site. With that being said, we have Market and the county and everybody. We have had multiple meetings with Stanley pushing getting completion dates, the housing issues and all the things with just the delays of it. So I would say we have talked to the president, the security side of it in their company in multiple different venues to try to keep pushing and putting pressure on them. The one challenge with it is they are a specialty contractor. So unfortunately, it's not like when we were struggling with them, I couldn't just pull them off and say, all right, we're going to get somebody else in there to finish this product now because it's such a specialty product and it's all their programming and security and licensing and all that stuff. So obviously in the future, after their 2-year warranty is up, there is other options to have other vendors come in and help, basically run and keep everything updated going forward. But it has been a struggle. Like I said, we had Alex call in, myself, Steve, had multiple calls with them, pushing on them and doing everything we can. I think we are to the point though that we are setting up training. We just need to get kind of some dates settled with everybody so we can push forward on that. Sam, do you have anything else on that I missed for Stanley or anything like that?
No.
The other big date obviously is the generator. So we finally digging into with calling the vendor themselves, the Key Electric, and having everyone kind of talk about where it's at. We finally have a true hard date of the transfer switch, which is unfortunately going to be in April. So I don't know if there's a manufacturing error, ordering error, what exactly the true source of and reasoning of it, but we have had multiple meetings with Key and ourselves about what is the plan. Basically, option one, we're running with the existing generator for the facilities, for the existing LEC and the new jail and dispatch. That's going to basically what we're looking at doing. The fire marshal has signed off on it. The DOC is okay with it. Basically, the state, everyone's good with it. With that being said, though, we have talked with Key, stating that obviously if there is a failure with the existing generator that's on site, that they need to make sure they have a backup generator, whatever it takes to get something on site within 24 hours. There's some battery backup and stuff that we do have some downtime that we could stay up and running. but we've got that in an agreement that basically stating that they need to have whatever it takes to get on site, another generator, something temporary just to keep dispatch up, whatever it takes, whatever has to happen to make it happen if that would happen, and if there's tornado or whatever the heck could occur. So I think we've had that meeting. Steve, I don't know, is there anything else on the generator side that you want to talk about? Like I said, that basically we'll have to have a switch over in April as soon as that shows up. They do have the pad getting poured, so we can finish that back parking lot, get the concrete in, all the stuff on site kind of complete. And then basically when that generator shows up, they set it in place. There'll probably be a couple hours switch over. It should be pretty quick. And we have tested the existing generator with the full power. They've been monitoring how much usage, all that kind of stuff to double, triple check to make sure that everything is good with the plan that we're going forward with.
So Tyler, this is Steve, and I know we talked about this a little bit, but what kind of a contingency plan or what through Key would there be for that generator to be on site? How long would it truly take to hook up a new generator? Would we be so-called in the dark for a while? Because our UPS battery backups would only last, hours, like you said. So, I mean, obviously then the LEC, unfortunately, worse would be the dispatch would be in the dark. And then if the jail doesn't have anything, we'd have to dump our jail. So what type of contingency would there, what's written into this thing with Key in this plan to basically keep us from getting in the dark?
Yeah, I've had that. I just sent that out yesterday back to our attorneys on our side to make sure that what verbiage we need to make sure we include in this agreement with them. So I don't have the exact answer at the moment. I can get that with Key, but I've requested that they have that there is a temporary generator within the Winona County area that is accessible within a half day basically period to get on site. So they have to, and he said he has multiple ones that they have on standby. I mean, there must be some facilities around the area that kind of have the same things in place, that they have some agreement with it. So he was going to give me an email that stated, what he could be doing and what the duration and time frame could be. Again, I'm trying to cover a worst case scenario on if this happens, because it surely could, and make sure we're double, triple covered on anything that could occur.
But the bottom line is that, or at least what I'm hearing you say, is there's going to be downtime for that. So if the worst case scenario happens, dispatch will be dark for a period of time, at least anyway. And we're just trying to figure out what that period of time is. Is that right?
Yeah, I need to get you an exact duration with, the DPS, the backup battery, how long that'll keep you live, and then to what it would be to getting a new generator or temporary generator on site, to even if it's just hooking up, like I said to Steve yesterday, when we were talking about this, if it worst case, you had to just get a small generator just to keep dispatch live, and then while the larger one shows up.
And they do have two separate power feeds coming into the electrical room. So it's on two separate loops. So that would have to be one part of the city going down, and then the other part generator as well.
Yeah, they're actually, that's a good point. There was a redundancy of backup power to this facility right now.
It would be a play Monopoly, get out of jail free card.
Yeah, and the good thing is that it won't if the power goes down, the facility wouldn't be non-functional. I'd have to obviously be Key functioning, and I mean, but the main components, secure cameras, all the stuff to run, they would not be up and live. But yeah, it's not like the locks would be opening or anything like that. So
I think the primary is just to make sure that, not that we want it on any of the county property, but we wouldn't want any power outage. But obviously the jail can function for a period on the UPS battery backups and not have to dump it for hours, compared to dispatch. Just can't be without the power. I mean, obviously that'd be the worst case scenario, is that we lose our 911 system. So that's our scariest and our biggest concern is right with that. It's just to make sure that however this is hooked up, albeit getting us in as an organization sooner, is just to make sure that we still have our belt suspenders and safety pins on, that dispatch is primary. That's the heartbeat. Can't fail. That system has to continue on running. And then the rest of the system sort of falls into place, even if it's some kind of a temporary phasing as it's starting back up, whether it be air conditioning units, lights, that kind of stuff. So what's really your primary necessities for operations and keep people working and, you know, functioning for the government. But dispatch is not, that's just a non-option failure, I think, for us. I think Bruce understands that too, at least the conversations that we've had with him from Key. Any other questions on?
Steve, I have
Oh,
a
yeah, go ahead.
question. Sorry, thanks. So with the 911 center, even if we didn't have this problem, which I'll say is a significant problem, is there a contingency plan anyways for the 911? I mean, is there where it can be shifted over to a different center on a temporary basis?
There sure is. A great question. Should have brought that up. So Jennifer Lavala, so yes, the answer is yes. That typically what would happen is any dispatch, actually, since there's 800 megahertz, would dump per se to another dispatch. Winona County's dispatch would dump to Olmsted County. So when we did the generator switchover, knowing that there was this delay in the new generator, hooking up the current, or excuse me, hooking up the current generator that was hooked up to 201 West 3rd, and then hooking that up to 203, the new jail building, we dumped the dispatch, not sure what would happen during that time period. In a way, it was sort of a blessing because like you always discover things that you haven't practiced for a while. You practice them on tabletops, you practice them in theory, but you don't actually do it. So when it was truly dumped and moved into Olmsted County, there was some goblins that sort of popped up that needed to be corrected. Those goblins have been corrected, and it was uneventful, the process that we did going to Olmsted County. With that said, if there was a complete failure, like boom, it's out, you'd have to act right now, because you have to start thinking that it's going to take 50, 60 minutes just for a staff person to leave Winona County to get up to Olmsted County, right? And then there's also a reconfiguration of paging and stuff. All that table talking, all that stuff that happened in between Jennifer Lavala, the sheriff, Ben Klinger, emergency management, obviously Jeff Mueller, the chief deputy. They worked flawlessly, and after they worked out all those electronic things in this electronic world. So the answer is yes, that we can do it, but there is going to be a time frame, or a limited time frame, to be able to leave the law enforcement center, get to Olmsted County, get into it prior to what I'm going to call like total power outage, meaning that now your battery backup no longer works. So we're off UPS off the old facility, not off the new one. The new facility actually has an extended UPS battery backup. So it's getting Jennifer Lavala probably another 30, 40 minute window, which is humongous, to make sure that the 911 system or paging can keep on happening. So let's play out the worst case scenario. You put a brand new generator in and there's a lightning strike, and somehow, even though there's a bunch of grounding and stuff, that generator gets fried out, or mechanical failures just happen even with new equipment, right? You buy a brand new car and it still doesn't work right. There's always that possibility. So those contingencies have always been in plan, and we actually know now as a fact, because of this process going on, that it does work.
So could there be a plan for the date that this generator goes in to actually, follow the contingency plan that day?
Yep.
To avoid?
So hypothetically, if everything happens on this April date and the transfer switch is in, the generator's up and ready to go.
Yeah.
The state inspector, Chris Meyer, the fire marshal from the state, Kerry Queen, Justin Roberts from the Minnesota Department of Corrections, and Jen Pfeiffer are all on board that they feel that the transfer time, talking with Key Electric, so this was us all communicating together, that we would not have to dump the jail, that this would happen in a transfer time that would be safety, that we wouldn't have to worry about dumping it. Dispatch would still go to Olmsted County just to make sure that if anything failed, we would not lose our 911 system. But the plan would be right now absolutely not to dump the jail if we're up and running.
Okay, yeah, that's kind of what I thought. So thank you, Steve, for that explanation.
Yep.
Danielle, you got anything else then to keep going there?
Oh,
or
sorry
you got
guys.
Anything else for me?
Yeah, I was on mute. I was just curious. I know there was some interest in perhaps having another open house. Is that something that is in the works, or?
We haven't really talked about it with the committee that that we had organized and that I was chairing, and I was out last week with some virus I probably picked up at the jail tour. But we've just talked about it in general. I don't know, Ron, you and I were kind of talking about it a little bit, but it took a lot of work by a lot of people.
Yeah.
But so I don't know.
Say, yeah, Karen, Marcia here. I thought it was well attended. People want to see it, but you're right. The amount of staff time it took to do it, I don't think I would schedule another one. And especially with this delay, people are going to say, well, why don't you have people in? I think it's going to cause more concern than it is.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Marcia. Go ahead. I just want to clarify, everybody who volunteered their time, even all the staff people, that was all on a volunteer basis. So there wasn't any extra cost to the county for it. But I agree, it just took a lot of time and effort, and yeah, very successful. But yeah, I'm not sure we could do it again. Even on and anybody who wants to take a tour can call Steve, right, Steve?
Yes.
Well, that's not necessarily good use of time either. I wouldn't encourage it. I mean,
well, we did have a few people who were, there was a very few people that we had to turn away. I think it was about 10, 15. And even then we started adding people to the tour size so that we could pick up a bunch of people. But we did let those who couldn't come back to contact Steve or Ron, and if they really wanted a tour. So.
Awesome.
I'm going to, yeah.
Okay. Any other points of discussion before we jump off?
I just have a question. It's not necessarily related to this update, but and maybe Steve, you've heard this before, but I'm just wondering if our new jail facility has any Pennsylvania style wall configurations where an inmate can crab walk up and run away.
I'm trying to think through my mind right now where that could possibly happen, but we don't have anything that's got an open top to it. So it'd have to get to 26 feet to get to a skylight before that could even happen. So they'd have to be sort of a circus trained person to begin with, get on top of each other.
Well,
I was gonna say,
what you watch
even the
American Ninja, they all everybody tries to be able to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah. And even if somehow they were able to get into the ceiling cavity, there are extra security measures with walls, and like the skylights, for example, have security grates on them with locks. So yeah, I think it would be challenging.
Okay, so the answer is no, the facility is not susceptible to that.
No.
But inmates are innovative, but no, it's not susceptible to that.
Yeah, I'm sure. And if, got time to look around and think and ponder things.
But that said, Dave, Marcia here, I thought it was very strange when in Pennsylvania, they apprehended the murder suspect after about 14 days. And you guys are all worried about sally ports and security and everything. They just walked that guy outside with the media and the public, hanging around and such. I guess maybe there's a different philosophy here. I thought it's strange.
Apparently nobody wants to speak for them, Commissioner Ward.
I don't live in Pennsylvania.
Okay, I think I would assume we have another meeting set up in October, so it's Tuesday, October 24th. I think it'd be prudent to get together again just to hear how things are going. Does that work for everybody?
Yeah, it's good on market's end.
Okay, and I think, yeah, Heidi already has it set up in the calendar, so. All right.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate all your hard work.
Thank you.